Chances are you've heard people talk about low voter turnout or how important it is to be an informed participant in the political process. But very few of those people make an effort to explain why people actually don't vote, let alone why they know so little about candidates and issues. Well, it turns out that voters are rationally ignorant about political candidates. One vote only changes the outcome of an election if it breaks a tie out of thousands or even millions of votes. Given the high cost to become an informed voter and the low probability of your vote impacting the outcome of an election, voters who abstain from voting or researching issues are said to be rationally ignorant, meaning they find better ways to spend their time than casting one essentially meaningless vote. Given the high cost of one's time to become an informed voter and the limited effects one vote has on an electoral decision, the real question is why so many people vote at all? One possible explanation is that people are motivated by something other than getting their preferred policies or candidates. It may be that voting is like cheering or jeering at a sports event. Even though an individual voice has little effect on the game, people yell and cheer to show their loyalty and enthusiasm for their team. I even yell in my living room while watching baseball. The fact that there is so much to cheer for or against in national elections might explain why more people vote in national elections than in the local ones. This type of voting, the cheering or jeering aspect, is known as expressive voting. If people recognize their vote does not affect an outcome, yet they still want to vote, they're freed from having to gain costly and complicated information about policies or candidates. Instead of voting on substantive issues such as a candidate's voting record, expressive voters can make their choice based on readily available information that costs very little to acquire. Things like a candidate's gender, ethnicity, religion, or on news headlines or 10-second sound bites. Expressive voting also frees voters to choose irrational policies, once again for the simple reason that their votes are unlikely to affect a change in outcomes. Instead of voting their private interests, they vote their emotional and symbolic interests. A voter may know, for example, that tariffs make consumers worse off, yet still vote for a protectionist politician out of a sense of national pride. And because one vote has so little value, even informed voters can vote against their best interests and still feel good about their vote by casting it for what they perceive as the more moral position. That is, they can be rationally irrational. While voting is undoubtedly an important aspect of democracy, the power of one vote is often overstated. Taking time to research candidates and issues costs voters time that could be invested in ways that promise a greater return. Voting, it turns out, isn't as rewarding as many voter turnout drives suggest. But if nothing else, at least you get a sticker.